HasanAbi corporate. I don't even know what that is. Greg Gutfeld makes the senseless murder of a retired Nevada cop filmed by the teens who stole a car and deliberately ran him over, all about George Floyd. So what's really wild about this hit and run story that's been going viral on Twitter, which is, 4chan now, is that I didn't know anything about it until I saw Republicans like posting about it. And I guess because I'm a normal person, because I'm a normal human being, like my immediate assumption wasn't that like these teenagers did this. Nereye? Oh, okay. These teenagers that like did it were probably subsequently punished, and I didn't think that they like let him go, right? And it turns out, yeah, the innocent man that was murdered in cold blood while riding his bicycle, the killers joked about it on social media, yet where's the media outrage? It's like, it's a senseless crime. It happened a month ago. The teen is charged with murder. The teen will be prosecuted fully. The teen isn't a trained officer of the law. No one is defending the teen's actions. Las Vegas has been mourning the victim. It's a random act of senseless violence. And so the part I don't understand is like, what do they want in that situation? Like to like pull the dude up and like shoot him or something? Like, I don't know. And it's not like the fucking teenagers knew that the dude was like a former police chief or something. You know what I mean? They're fucking psychos. We have that, Like it's not appropriate. It's just completely senseless and incredibly fucked up. I don't give a shit if he's like a former chief of police or whatever. Like I'm not one of these fucking freaks, right? Like you got an old ass man on a bike getting fucking murdered ruthlessly, Grand Theft Auto style, right?
A filming of a public execution, okay, with no regard for the consequences. And this is not just repulsive and something that is not forgettable. When Greg talks about the
teen labs as a mow down cop, which is like a wild way to present the story, because like they weren't like, oh, that's a cop, let's go kill him. It's like an old man on a bike, which in my opinion is like worse. You know what I mean? They just like, they weren't even like, ooh, I bet this guy is a cop, like let's go kill him. You know what I mean? They were like, there's an old man on a fucking bicycle, let's go murder him. You know what I mean?
ISIS videos, and there are certain things you don't forget, but this is
okay, dude. Are they gonna fucking
about
show
the devolution of our society? I mean, this is more than just one case. We're in a place where murder is a sport, where the video.
Yeah, you're right. America is a place where murder is a sport. You're absolutely correct on this. Now, let's unpack that, right? She's right. She's absolutely right. Our culture is so fucked up. I agree. I wonder where it comes from. I wonder what kind of death and violence that we engage in the real world that ends up normalizing it. Is it video games? Well, if that's the case, then there's plenty of video games elsewhere. Why aren't they doing that in other countries? Why is it that like America is like uniquely violent by every objective standard in comparison to other OECD nations? Why is America just so much more violent? Why? Because like when people say it's music, rap music, or video games or whatever, it's like the rest of the world consumes all that at the same level. I don't know. Something to think about.
Video is your bravado, where the victim, the innocent, silent victim of crime, is nothing more than collateral damage, and where no justice will ever be gotten for the victim or the victim's family. And that's all we're seeing now with this Generation Z that doesn't care about consequences, which to them now is a relatively new concept. And I'm going to spin off of what Greg just talked about.
Yeah, her generation famously didn't do any violence. Her generation is even different than that. Bro, you're the most lead-poisoned generation. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, objectively, all the generations that have come since Judge Janine's psychotic generation has been significantly less violent, right? Violent crime has only gone down, yet it's still up in comparison to the rest of the world. Now, we know at least where their fucking violence and mania is possibly coming from. It's, partially due to the lead poisoning that I just mentioned. But also, I don't know, maybe outside of like the material realities of constant despair, alienation, inequality, lack of opportunities, and the like, why are there still so many more violent instances in America? I don't know. Well, one, guns. Okay, that's a big part of it. Cars, that's another big part of it. We have a lot more cars and we have a lot more guns in other countries. But also, last but not least, if you want to look at it from a more spiritual perspective, lack of access to healthcare is another one, okay? But if we're moving beyond the material realities, right? Even if you try to make a one-to-one comparison, if adjusted to like opportunities for people and education and social safety nets, which is really hard to do. But even if you were to do such a thing, America has a spiritual issue with violence in general. We're a very violent fucking country. All of that violence that we are engaging in all around the fucking world and the justifications for it inevitably are going to create an attitude amongst Americans that, like, you know, this kind of lack of accountability for violent behavior is permanently instilled in the minds of every fucking generation of Americans. What you can do is choose to work against that by, at the very least, solving the underlying material problems. But that's it. If you are if you're a nation that has basically if you're an entire nation whose history starts with like genocide, as many nations do, right? And your continuation of said genocidal, bloodthirsty acts have been a necessity for the continuation of global hegemonic American power, then I feel like those justifications are inevitably going to cause permanent psychic damage in the collective consciousness of Americans. We've never really addressed any of these issues. We've never chose to seriously right these wrongs, okay? And we continue to do violent things to everyone around the world with no care or consideration to the victims. And then we just routinely justify it. Like, why the fuck would people have a nonviolent approach? It's like having we have a domestic police force, when you think about it, that operates like a paramilitary occupying force. You know, we're so in love with colonizing that we kind of create domestic colonies and hurt our fellow Americans as well. There's no love for America or your fellow American. So why would we? Why would anyone not be a violent freak? You know?
The villains for the media to cover must be white or it didn't happen. So let's talk about the impact of George Floyd. This murderer was 17 years old, alleged murderer. The kid who hit him with the...
Yeah, you actually brought up a really good point, H.R. Beck. Instead of stealing a car and like running over a random dude on a bike, if they had shot him, the very same Republican media would say that there were lone wolves, and this has nothing to do with like guns and gun violence at all. Yeah, if they ran around and like shot random people and one of them happened to be a cop, they would not run defense for him. They would either try to say, oh, mental health. We got to do mental health. You know, we got to do something about the mental health of our children, which they have, of course, no interest in that, right? They have no interest in that at all, because then they would have to defend it. But of course, now it's like, oh yeah, it's George Floyd time somehow. I don't know why, but
bike and said, yeah, let's get his ass. Okay? There's no question that this was an intentional murder. Now, at the time of George Floyd, he was 13 or 14. At the time of, who was it? Michael Brown? Yeah.
These are great takes, except it's not the actual take that she's trying to make, which is that, yes, all of that is violence. The reaction to that is violent. The original act is violent. The justifications for that is reinforcing that violent hegemony. So yes, if you are growing up in a time when all you see from the media is literally police being violent towards individuals, and then like police being also violent to those who protest that individual act of violence from the state, then like what the fuck are they? That's all they know. All they know is violence. She said it isn't. She said it isn't covered because the kids are not white. No, wait. Isn't the kid literally white? I thought the dude who ran over the cop is white. She meant Trayvon when she said Floyd. I thought the kid was white.
Hands up, don't shoot.
Not that it fucking matters. They're American. You know what I mean?
Which we knew was not accurate because Michael Brown reached for the cop's gun first. This kid was 8 years old. All right. And so we watched businesses burn, neighborhoods burn, murder, mayhem, no consequences. America was under fire. And this is what we got. And this is what we're going to have for the next 20 years, unless that pendulum swings the other way. And, you know, the juvie court, you know, and lowering the age is a bunch of nonsense until we as a society have the nerve and the verve and the determination to lock these kids up, to make them examples. They're going to continue to do this.
Harold Ford Jr. So I share your view.
I feel like this is getting a lot of coverage, and the police officer that killed the poor girl is where? Was this the cop that died at avid Fox watcher? She's really drilling into the story. No, it's because a cop ran over the 26-year-old or the 23-year-old, sorry, in Seattle. So this is good counter coverage to that because they're like, oh, everyone cares about the cop that drove over this like innocent young girl, but no one cares about these kids that fucking drove over a cop, even though it happened a month ago. And I think like because the guy who they killed wasn't like a random cyclist, but instead a retired cop, they're trying to make it seem like it was intentional because like they knew somehow that he was a cop.
When you saw it for the first time, it had to have had an impact.
It's like
By the way, the kids had no fucking idea the dude was a cop. He's literally it's even worse than that. You know what I mean? Not that it's like excusable if he was a cop or anything, but like it's even worse than that because it's like totally senseless. An old man in who's like biking along the road. You know what I mean? They intentionally fucking drove into a dude who was straight up just biking along the fucking road.
I actually tweeted about it being like the ISIS video. It's hard to affect like the city mentality and in anybody's world these days. It's like talking to a drug addict. Hey, did you know crime is really bad for you? And it's like, dude, no, man. Maybe you should cut back.
Yeah, dude, everybody loves crime. People that live in cities are always like, can't get enough of crime, please. Please give me more crime. Like, what kind of fucking commentary is this? You have to be fucking exclusively cutting this commentary for like the suburbs, right? Hoping that the last remaining like 78-year-olds living in the suburbs are like, yeah, that's right. That is how they are in fucking cities. Like, that's so stupid.
Back on the crime and say, dude, we're good. We're good. So what you need is transformational experience and events that would change this mindset, the before and after incident, like the ISIS videos, the thing that jars you into a new reality.
I haven't seen the full video. The police arrested him, but they're not releasing information on him because he's 17. But I mean, this is the kid. They're like hiding their faces, but I thought he was. These are the kids who did it. Did they know him or have a prior altercation with the guy? No, dude, no. They straight up go, yo, go fucking ram into him. There is no, like, if you listen to Fox News, you would think that like these kids basically fucking stole a car and were like, let's go kill this cop. No, they hit a car, they drove away. And they're like literally fucking filming themselves while doing this. They're wearing masks. And then they see a biker who's biking on the side of the road, like an old ass man you could see in the fucking video. And they just intentionally go, oh, hit his ass. And they drive up to him and they hit him. It is the perfect definition of a random act of violence. It's really fucked up. It's a really, really, really fucked up video. I literally would think this sort of shit is some sort of targeted case hit from the way Fox frames it, that he was a retired cop purely by chance. It sounds like, yes. We are in the era of ultra violence, kids. I don't think so. Bro, when I was in Mexico, by the way, even in fucking Mexico, they have like, at least in Cabo, they have not just bike lanes, but like they make it impossible to drive over to where the bike lanes are. Not to get like too armchair urbanist here, but they literally have like the roads are, but even then they still have like some level of guards that make it pretty much impossible to fucking drive into the bike lane. Like it's not like a direct barrier. It's more of like a mini curb.
You see this, you cannot unsee it. It's why I avoided the ISIS videos. You can't, like, I knew that would change me permanently, but that video of that heinous murder is such a transformational event. I saw it. It's now in my brain. It's changed the way I think. I imagine this happened to a lot of people. It's something you didn't want to see. The problem is, we're the only people that care. The media doesn't care if the pigment doesn't fit their program. The villains must be white or it didn't happen. The fact is, they recycled and recycled and recycled the George Floyd video so much that it transformed a country into a self-loathing, self-destructive entity. The city's leaders stood by and let the violent mobs beat and kill people because they were brainwashed by that video into believing that we deserved it. Something like this, what just happened here, is rare. That's why it's so shocking, and you don't have to riot over this. Now imagine if those sentences were said after George Floyd, instead of this reflects an entire corrupt racist system, an entire vocation of racist officers. We don't do that here because we love our country. We find this heinous and disgusting, but we're not saying it's emblematic of a group, unlike the left and unlike the mainstream media.
Judge, so what do you think the chances are authorities break this teen?
They called us millennium super predators, so they need to take Mortal Kombat away, lest we murder everyone with ice raisin. I mean, every generation has its own like unique issue. It's very odd to just like hyper focus on this being like Gen Z. He's literally saying the dude was forgettable and that they're only bringing it up to prove a point against liberal hypocrisy. Fox News just missing the GTA caused this checkbox. Yeah, they can't actually fucking do the GTA caused this checkbox because Grand Theft Auto hasn't released a new fucking game. Okay, for the past 10 years, we just passed the 10-year mark of Grand Theft Auto 5. Okay, so that's literally the reason why they can't fucking complain and be like, a new Grand Theft Auto game came out. So it's definitely that. I will bet $1 million fucking dollars if Grand Theft Auto was out right now, if there was a new Grand Theft Auto game out right now, they would literally point to that and say, where do you think they learned this behavior from? Grand Theft fucking Auto. GTA 5 is so old that this girl is still using an iPhone 4. We're on iPhone 15 now, bro, and still no GTA 6.